Welcome to our video on taking control of your finances. So some of the things that you are going to learn through this video is understanding the importance of controlling your finances. You'll learn how to make a budget and track your cash flow. You'll learn to be aware of certain factors that determine whether your spending patterns make sense. You'll understand the costs and benefits of insurance, and you will base your financial goals on what makes sense for you. So, when we are first learning about controlling our finances, the first thing that we want to consider is knowing our bank balance. We want to avoid bouncing any debit charges. Um, we want to know what we spend. Keep track of our debit and credit card spending. Uh, don't buy on impulse. Think first. Only buy when it makes sense. And make a budget. Don't overspend. So let's look at what it means to make a budget. So let's suppose that you spend $25 every week on coffee and $150 every month on food. Over the course of a year, do we spend more on coffee or more on food? Well, when we think about what do we spend on coffee? Well, we spend $25 every week, and there are 52 weeks in a year. So when we look at that means that we spend $1,300 on coffee every year. All right, so what about food? Well, we are told that we spend $150 every month, and there are 12 months, which means that we spend $1,800 on food each year. So based on this, we do spend more on food each year, but that's kind of telling. We spend almost as much on coffee every year as we do on food. So when we are analyzing our budget, this might be a place that we want to take a look at. Should we cut back on our coffee each week? Uh, for some of us, that's going to be a yes, and for some of us, that is definitely going to be a hard no. So that is something that you need to consider every time when you're looking at your budget. So how do we make a budget? Well, the first thing that we need to do is determine our average monthly income. So we need to take uh, any money that we have coming in and average that for monthly income. And then determine our average monthly expenses. So we want to include everything that we spend in a week, in a month, in a year, and average that out over a monthly cost. Then from there, we can determine our net monthly cash flow. We do this by subtracting our total expenses from our total income, and then we can make adjustments as needed. So let's consider this. Let's determine our average monthly expense here. So for this one, we have a student who, this student pays $6,500 for tuition and fees, plus $600 for textbooks for each of 2 semesters. And this is important, okay? Because this means that or this student pays $6,500 twice and $600 twice. Okay? And when we multiply this out, that means that we have $13,000 in tuition and fees and $1,200 in textbooks for a total expense for the year, which is important, of $14,200. But we want this to be a monthly expense, okay? So if this is the amount that we pay each year, in order to find the monthly expense, we want to take the yearly amount and divide that by the number of months. So we take 14,200 and divide that by 12, and that gives us an average monthly expense for this student to be $1,183.33. So this is the average monthly expense that this student pays to go to school. Now, how about net cash flow? Well, this is what we were talking about when we were talking about determining our average monthly income, average monthly expenses, okay? So each month, okay, we start out with $650 each month for income. We get $400 each month for our college fund. The scholarship is $6,000 per year. So in order to find, I'm going to change my color here. In order to find the monthly expense for this, we have to take 6,000 and divide it by 12. Because this is going to give us the monthly expense for this. Okay. And that gives us $500 per month. So our total income is going to be the sum of these three items here. Okay? And when we add this up, we get a total monthly income of $1,550. All right. So now let's look at expenses. Well, we have rent of $500 per month. The groceries are $60 per week. So if we assume that there are 4 weeks in a month, okay, then we have to take this 60 and multiply it by 4 to give us our monthly expense of $240 for groceries. Now, we also have tuition and fees of $3,600 twice per year. Okay? So if it's twice per year, that's every 6 months. So in order to find the monthly expense for this, we take our $3,600 and divide it by those 6 months. And that gives us that expense of $600. And then we have our incidentals of $120 every week. But to convert that to a monthly, we need to multiply by 4, which gives us a total of $480 per month. So here we have total expenses. Okay, so we have our 500, our 240, our 600, and our 480. And that gives us total expenses of $1,820. Well, as you can see, this is a problem, okay? Because that means that the net cash flow we take our income and subtract our expenses. And when we do that, that gives us a net cash flow of negative $270. Okay, so this is a problem. So we are $270 in the hole every month. So this means that we either need to reduce our expenses or increase our income. So some ways that we could do that, looking at this budget right here, we could find a part-time job that pays a little bit more. We could get another scholarship that would give us a little bit more money to offset those tuition and fees that we're paying. You know, those are some things that would help us. We could cut back on our incidentals. We don't want to really cut back on food. That's not a good place to cut back. But incidentals, like we looked at before, we had those that coffee run that we looked at earlier, and you know, this is where the adjust your budget comes in. Um, so these are some things that we can do to adjust our budget. All right, making wise financial decisions. Let's look at this, okay? So we currently drive 250 miles per week in a car that gets 21 miles per gallon of gas. We're considering buying a new fuel-efficient car for $16,000, which is after the trade-in allowance on our current car. And this new fuel-efficient car gets 45 miles per gallon. Insurance premiums for the new and old cars are $800 and $400 per year, respectively. Now, keep in mind, the premium is on insurance, any insurance policy where we're talking about when we're talking about health insurance or car insurance, the premium is the amount that we pay just to purchase the policy. And premiums are typically paid once or twice per year. Some insurance companies, especially like our health insurance and even our car insurance, they can allow you to split that up into monthly payments. Okay. Well, also, when we're considering insurance, we need to consider the deductible, which is the amount that we have to pay before insurance pays anything. So say we have $1,000 deductible. Even though we've been making our premium payments every month or year or whatever, if we have an accident or need health care, if we have $1,000 premium, we have to pay $1,000 additionally out of pocket before insurance pays anything. And then we have what's called a copayment. And copayment, that's what we pay. A lot of people see this like when we go to the doctor, we've got a, $50 copay. We pay the doctor's office $50 and then insurance pays the rest. All right. So back to making this wise decision. So we anticipate spending $1,500 per year on repairs to the old car and having no repairs on the new car. And assuming that gas costs $3.50 per gallon over a 5-year period, would it be less expensive to keep the old car or buy the new car? Okay. Well, let's look at our old car. Okay. If we drive 250 miles per week and we get 21 miles per gallon, that means that we're going to take the 250 and divide it by 21. Okay. And when we do this, that tells us that we need approximately 11.9 gallons of gas each week. Okay. Well, since gas is $3.50 per gallon, that ends up being a weekly cost of $41.67. Okay. And taking that 41.67, and we're going to multiply that by 52 weeks. And that gives us $2,166.67. And then multiply that by 5 years. And that's a total cost just for fuel for the 5 years of $10,833.33. And that's just for the gas. And this is for 5 years. Okay? All right. Now, insurance premiums are $800 per year times the 5 years. Well, that gives us $4,000 for insurance. Okay. And then $1,500 per year for repairs. Which gives us $7,500 for repairs. So the old car will cost a total of $22,000. So $22,333.33. That's how much the old car will cost over 5 years. Now let's look at the new car. We're still driving 250 miles each week, but now this car gets 45 miles to the gallon. Okay? So that means that it's approximately 5.6 gallons. Okay? Times $3.50. Gives us a total of approximately $19.44 each week. Now we take that, and per year, that gives us approximately $1,011.11. Now we take that and multiply it by 5, and that gives us approximately 5,000 $5,055.56 for gas. Okay. Insurance is $400 each year. So that's $2,000 in insurance. We have no repairs. However, we have the initial cost of the car, which is $16,000. So that is the initial cost. So when we take that and add it all up, the new car over 5 years would be $23,055.56. That would be the total cost of ownership of this new car. So it's important to break these things down like this because on the surface you think, hey, I'm getting a new car. I'm going to be spending less on insurance, less on repairs, less on gas. And while all of that is true, the initial cost, you're paying around $700 more over 5 years than what you would by just keeping your old car for 5 years. Now, of course, there are many other factors that can go into this. Perhaps the new car fits your family a little bit better now. So this is where you need to look at your individual situation and make the decision that is best for your family. Just because financially it makes better sense to stick with the old car, it might not make the best sense for your family. That $700, that might be valuable to you, even though you're spending $700 more for the new car over 5 years. Your family would be more comfortable in the new car. So these are all things that we need to consider when we're making good financial decisions. As always, I hope this video has been helpful. Please reach out with any questions, and remember, we are here to help in any way we can.